What's up, Vegas? We're back with episode 4 of the Guest List podcast. And I hope you guys listened to yesterday's episode or last episode because Steven had some great information about network marketing. And regarding network marketing, there's something going along online right now that is not network marketing and is definitely a pyramid scheme. If you ever hand someone $100 and expect $800 back, that is not network marketing. That is just a straight textbook Ponzi scheme, guys. What I've been seeing going on is there's like an octagon and you put your name in the middle, you pay someone $100, and then once you fill up this octagon with 8 names, they supposedly pay you out $800. If you guys are doing this, this is not marketing. This is utter stupidity. And if I see you guys posting this, I'm blocking you immediately. So I know that we all want to be degenerates and we want to get back to gambling, but that is not a smart investment. So please, guys, do not do this. And moving on to my guest today, he's someone that I've known for a little while. He's actually somebody who set up my 21st birthday at Marquee Nightclub on President's Day some years ago. He has over 10 years of experience on the strip when it comes to promotions, VIP marketing, and market consulting. And he's also the only man, wait, let me rephrase this. He's the only person I know that plays water polo too. So it's going to be something that we touch on too. And he also goes by the name WhereIsNabu, infamously. So without further ado, Nabu Reyes.
Thank you, Jake. I really appreciate being on the show and excited to talk with you about everything. So this is awesome, man. So thank you for the opportunity.
I appreciate you for coming on. I'm just curious about water polo. Is that actual physical distancing requirements? Is that shut down?
So unfortunately, yes, it is. I was very sad about that. It's like kind of one of my biggest passions ever since high school. And it is a physical sport, and being in the water also, you have to be very careful because of what the situation's going on right now. So I play with a city team, and unfortunately, around the same time period, we had to shut down on March 13th. Around March 13th, we also had to shut down our city practices. So yeah, but yeah, it's a great sport. I love it though.
Dude, yeah, it's like water soccer or water handball.
Yeah, I would say soccer in the water or hockey in the water, very similar. So yeah, yep, very true. So
how did you get turned on to water polo?
So long story short, I was invited by a player there that they had my high school team was a little short on players, and they had announcements trying to recruit. And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. I was expecting water volleyball when I came in. And when I came in, I was like, oh, this is not the sport that I thought it was. But I went in and played it, and I absolutely loved it and just continued to play. So, yep, been doing it for almost 15 years now.
Dude, I give you props for that. Treading's the hardest. I remember back in the day, I started out as a lifeguard, and you have to do lifeguard training, and you have to sit there and tread for 2 minutes. And I could barely do 2 minutes, let alone an hour, whatever you guys' time limit is.
It honestly, once you kind of learn how to tread properly, it's kind of like riding a bike. You kind of get used to it. You can kind of learn little techniques to kind of control yourself to float a little bit. So you're holding breath in your lungs, if you consider a balloon. When you have air in your lungs, you have something that helps you float, so it's a lot easier to tread. So little techniques like that help out.
I respect that.
Thanks, man.
Before we go through the timeline, can you just give everyone a brief description of who you are?
So I am here in Las Vegas. I've been here for about 15 years. I own my own hosting promotions company. I work with almost every single nightclub on the strip and have done business with every nightclub on the strip. I deal with the promotion side, bringing people in, hosting side, setting up VIP services and sales on bottle service, as well as occasionally I'll do special events and consulting with some of the nightclubs that ask me to help out with starting a special event or working on a project with them. And so I'm involved with many aspects of the nightlife scene.
Yeah, I see you literally all over, and I think your Instagram handle name WhereIsNabu is pretty relevant.
Yeah, so that has evolved with so many uses of the name. So back in college, people used to always hit me up about where are the college parties, And then later on, when I started working in nightlife, I worked with a lot of different nightclubs. So people would ask what nightclub I'm at. And then now, because I do travel a lot and do a little bit of travel blogging, people are always asking, where are you going to next? So that's kind of a good use of the name, Where is Nabu?
It's funny. So, what is NR Promotions and your party throwing career? Is that inspired by your college days?
So it originated in college. So back when I was 19, I had a really big dorm. I had the handicap dorm room, so it was like twice as big. And so I started throwing college parties there. And then UNLV during that time period went through a really strict dry season. So like they were very strict on a lot of the fraternities, clubs to kind of throw parties. And so since I was not affiliated with anybody, I kind of started throwing parties myself. And I just started building a good reputation with a lot of UNLV students, a lot of restaurants, a lot of organizations, and I just built up a following from just doing that. So later on, once the dry season kind of ended, a lot of organizations, fraternities, or clubs, athletes were asking me for sponsorships with like DJs, or I was brand managing Neuro Drink and helping out with Red Bull and Monster Energy Drink as well. And so I was helping out bringing like supplies to parties, and I was just kind of like a middleman for a lot of people. And so just doing that and being involved with the UNLV community, I just built up a large database. And a lot of those students were hospitality students. So when I turned 21, a lot of those kids turned 21, got into the industry, and I was their first contact with nightclubs, because I got into nightclubs at 21 as well. And so being their first contact, I kind of grew alongside a lot of these industry people, and became their number one contact. And being consistent throughout the last 10 years, a lot of them still use me as their contact. So it's been kind of a growing process that I've been very fortunate with UNLV networking that kind of led to help me out a lot in my nightlife career in Las Vegas.
At UNLV's, it's a very unique experience. It's generally a commuter school, but then you get
Hmm.
people who come over here, not just from California, like the Strip. You get people from all over the world, different countries to come here
Very true.
for hotel
Very, very
management.
true.
Yeah. And Greek life in general, there is no Greek row. So the houses are just spread all over everywhere. And like when I was
Hmm.
in the fraternity, we did what we took your road, and we would contact bars and throw parties there as well as the house. So everything's just really dynamic. And then it all eventually leads up to the Strip, because everyone uses that Greek life or that UNLV communication tool to get onto the Strip, because that's one of the ultimate goals for most people.
True, and you're right. It's all about the networking as well. So just kind of like when you're at that age, you don't really realize that there's a bigger result from networking. You just kind of want to like have a good time, but building those connections with a lot of people when you grow up, especially when a lot of people are in the hospitality industry, we all kind of work alongside with each other a lot. So it's great connections that do lead into the future, and people don't really realize the true social networking will lead into a lot of bigger things in life in any industry, pretty much.
100%. I always like to say, a lot of people say that your network is your net worth, and it's who you know, but it's a lot of what you know applying to who you know, which will get you to
As well,
where you want to be.
combination of both for sure, definitely.
100%. Where was your first party at that you threw?
Uh, El Patio. So
Dude,
that was
throwback. Yes, throwback.
it's
Oh my
not around
God.
anymore, but definitely the main spot that I used to throw a lot of parties at. Oh man, right across from you know these good old days.
Dude, RIP El Patio. I'm sure all the listeners are genuine towards that. Man, that was a sad
Oh
day.
yeah,
We used to throw parties there. We used to pregame the basketball games there.
oh yeah,
That was a good time until I think
so funny.
everyone finally figured out what was going on and
Yeah,
shut that down.
yeah.
that was a good time. So when you started throwing parties, obviously NR Promotions is the name. When did
Mhm.
you officially incorporate the company?
So when I turned 21, I just had the name started out as in our promotions because being young, I was still kind of learning the business steps. I was trying to make money, and I was at first as a sole proprietor, and I was marketing for a lot of companies. such as like Chipotle. I was a big brand ambassador for them in Las Vegas throughout my college days, and then other few restaurants and companies were hiring me for marketing and stuff like that. And then when I started building up a following and I got into nightlife, I started learning how nightlife works in that. And then when I started making a little bit more money, I hired an accountant who helped me with the process of incorporating my company and handling my money properly, and just making things more official because I wanted to do things the right way. So just step by step, it was a learning process. I throughout, like I was still in school learning business and just learning the right way. I took each step, and then when I was 21, incorporated everything, and then did things the right way, and then had everything contracted, and yeah.
I could see too where promotion stems into VIP hosting, because, you know, when you're in college, you have a lot of younger people, but then once everyone turns 21, that's when all the doors are open, the floodgates are open, people want to go all across the strip, and now you have a huge network behind you. So then you transitioned into VIP hosting. And can you just explain to everyone what exactly VIP hosting is and the difference between that and promotions?
So promotions, there's a few different things from hosting, and what it is, promotions focuses on volume, getting people in, and girls getting in. And usually that service is free, and the nightclubs usually would hire promoters instead of well, they still do this, but like instead of like paying for commercials or like billboards or whatever like that, like they still do that a little bit. They like to hire individuals who could produce results, and so it's another marketing technique that nightclubs use when they hire promoters. Now, hosting is more into the sales side of the nightclub. So nightclubs have real estate where they set up tables around the venue, and you have your own VIP area. And these VIP hosts mainly focus on the operations and sales. So they help run the door as well as sell these tables for clients, and they build up a book of clients to sell and provide a VIP experience for their clients.
Yeah, so you were once you hit 21 and you had this huge network, you started double dipping on both sides just because the
Oh yeah,
connection was there,
definitely.
and it's
They
easy.
work really hand in hand with each other. Um, it goes into where a lot of people get into the nightclub, especially when you bring a lot of girls. A majority of the time, guys buy tables, and a lot of the guys want to meet girls. And so girls meet guys, guys meet girls, and the guys spend more money trying to have a good time, and everybody wins pretty much.
Yeah,
So that's how they both work hand in hand with each other.
dude. Yeah, I see now every time when I see you in the club, literally 80% of the time you have like an all girl table. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, it's me and my entourage. Yep.
That's funny. And yeah, it's until I turned 21 and even like a few years after, I didn't really understand the difference between VIP hosting and promoter. And, you know, you want to get into a nightclub, so somebody gives you somebody's name and then you get bounced around, nobody responds, and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? You get outside, there's 400 different lines. There's a VIP table line, guest list line, staff guest list line, GA line,
Oh
whatever else
yeah.
line.
Over the years, it's been a little bit complicated. So since around 2009, when did you turn 21? Just wondering.
2013.
2013. Okay. So yeah, around that time is when nightclubs became mega clubs. I believe that's when Hakkasan and Omnia were opening up for the
Omnia was
first time.
2015. Hakkasan was 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Hakkasan opened up, and that was the start of the mega club era for the nightclubs. So back in the day, nightclubs started becoming bigger in 2009. But before they were very small, very exclusive. In 2009, I believe 2009, 2010, that's when Surrender opened up, and that was one of the bigger nightclubs. Then Marquee opened up in 2010, another big nightclub, and then Hakkasan came in swinging as a mega club that fits almost, I would assume, around 5,000 people max capacity. And so things change where they just need massive volume of people to fill it up. And so during that time, that's when all these different lines and different sources of ways to bring people in came in. So you kind of saw the start of a new era. that we're in right now because of the quarantine and stuff like that. I believe we're gonna enter a new era of nightlife. It'll
That
be interesting to see what we're gonna go through in the next year.
Yeah, that's we'll touch on that in a little bit, but I just want to go
Mhm.
back to you said what were the nightclubs like before, I guess, 2013, and how did you manage to promote yourself before, I guess, technology took over?
So back in the day, it was before 2009. Yeah, it was not about the DJ. 2009 was the introduction of the EDM world to the mainstream. So I remember back in the day when Steve Aoki became a really big figure for Surrender back in the days, Afrojack as well, and then Tiesto also was at the Win as well too. So the EDM world was really starting out, and then it blew up when the mega clubs opened up. Mega clubs are now almost like mini festivals, but back in the day it was more. You could definitely tell a difference between like the nightclub and the EDM festival-ish
Yeah.
event. So, but yeah, like nowadays it's more of a mini festival. Um, um, so that's kind of, I guess, the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, I think the combination of mega clubs opening up in turn with EDC moving here in
Mhm.
2011 kind of just opened up the floodgates for the
That
EDM
is
scene
true.
and took over. And then, America's always the leader in music, and then every other country is typically like a year or two behind. So that's when it was about 2013 because EDC came in here in 2011. So about 2 years later is when it just really became a huge mega scene with Hakkasan and all these big
True.
DJ contracts and everything.
And then also, Las Vegas always sets the bar for the best nightclubs in the world. And so when nightclubs around the world start growing, we have to kind of push ourselves to be better. So we always have like a major competition on setting the bar with places like New York, Miami, London, even Dubai now. But yeah, by far out of all the places I've been to, Las Vegas always sets the bar. Not only with the biggest nightclub, it doesn't have to be like biggest like wide wise and just fit the most people, but little things on how it's operated, hospitality, service, just presentations. There's a lot of factors that go into making a nightclub really successful, and those little things help out with kind of giving that wow factor. Because in Las Vegas, we set the goal to provide a great experience. It's all about the experience, not just like a warehouse with music. It's not just like a little party house. We're really setting the bar for something bigger that like when you walk in and leave, you just say, wow.
Yeah, I like to compare Vegas kind of to how LA is with the film industry and kind of the
Hmm.
entertainment industry, where LA sets the bar as far as music and publicity, where now you come
Hmm.
over to Vegas and it's growing in that nature, but with the industry and the club industry. You see a lot of
Hmm.
these servers with hundreds of clients and mega followers on Instagram, and it's very just like mediatized over it and glorified, and we're now setting the bar for the stage, and now it's called the entertainment capital of the world. It's so awesome that we
True.
could live here. It's great. It's crazy. I love
I
it.
know that's our everyday life. It's you have a different perspective when you live it every day, but it is amazing though, and honestly, I love it. It's
Mhm.
we're very very fortunate to be part of it.
And so, why table service over going on the guest list? What are some reasons to do this?
Well, how I would say for the average person, say you go with a group of 5 people and you don't know a promoter and you see the opportunity to buy a table. Um, you're gonna have to pay cover to get in. And then say if it's 5 guys, you're gonna have to pay probably average price about $50 per guy. And you have to wait in line. You have to pay that cover, and then you have to pay for your own drinks. And if you guys are socializing, usually guys talk to girls. Um, you'll have to buy drinks for other people as well. So that does add up. One bottle ranges around $600, not including tax gratuity, but you save yourself money if you're trying to have a good time buying bottle service over just general entry. So it is a better experience to have your own area, a place where you could invite people to have drinks with you, faster, smoother entry. You build a connection with a host as well. And so I do believe always a bottle service package is always better than just regular general entry.
Yeah, I would say that too, especially from my own experience working,
Hmm.
being a huge club rat for 2 years and then eventually working in one of the nightclub industries. When you have your own table, you have pretty much the free, I wouldn't say the free time, but you have the ability to grab different people into the group and you're not consistently pushed around when the club hits capacity.
Just more comfort experience, a lot better. And sometimes like these mega clubs, they jam pack a lot of people, which, some people like that, but the older I get, the more I like my space. So, and I'm a little spoiled. If I don't have a table, I don't really like to go out. So
That's
it's
exactly,
it's just
yeah.
it's just a more fun experience overall. So,
That's it. Yeah, it's exactly how I've become too. We're spoiled, but your VIP hosting is typically different from, let's say, a nightclub specific host, right?
hmm So what I am is I'm an independent host. So my company is contracted with multiple nightclubs around the strip, and I do very similar things as the VIP host, but except operate at the door. So a lot of these nightclubs assign tasks for me, and I generate sales, and I also bring in people, and then I do also a promotional table as well. So I help in by bringing in volume of people. I help by bringing in sales, and then I run a promotional table, which what you've seen me around with
Mm-hmm.
a table full of girls, and it's more of a atmosphere kind of task for that. So they put me at a pretty good table where it's visible, or next to clients, and I have it full of girls. So and I show up early, and the reason for that is to make the club look busy early. And when clients come in and they're placed next to me, they see a lot of the girls, and usually when the alcohol's done on my table, the girls kind of wander out and they socialize and they meet these guys, and these guys invite them over, and they just spend more money. And it's kind of um, a task that, well, not a task, but like kind of what generally happens and what it's kind of meant for. It's to make the club look good with a bunch of girls. So.
Yeah, before I started working in the nightclub, I never realized all of the strategy that goes behind it with table placements and
Hmm.
different size of groups because you don't want the club to be a sausage fest because
True.
that's the ultimate goal
Well,
is just Vegas is a very hypersexualized city and so people want to be able to have fun, meet girls and kind of just be free, but you also don't want to have too many girls because the guys are generally the one who end up buying the drinks so you don't make no money, so you have to have that like perfect blend all together.
it's kind of hard to say, like especially for like people that are not familiar with Vegas, or live in different states that kind of are, they welcome everyone. Of course, we welcome everybody to these nightclubs, but there's just a way of how these parties become successful is with ratios of more women than men, and because we have a time limit of how to create a successful party. There's like, the main DJ comes on at 1 a.m. We close at 4 a.m. We open doors up at 11. We have a 4 to 5 hour window of trying to create a great experience and the most sales as well on the business side. And so, yeah, bringing in volume with keeping a ratio with entertaining and stuff like that. It's all plays little. There's little factors that all make the party very successful.
Yeah, and I love it. I hope that the EDM scene stays, but I guess with what's going on with the coronavirus, I think some of the contracts are either going to have to get dumped or maybe minimized. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of talent
Well,
stems from this.
what do you think is going to happen with these big changes? What do you see in the future of nightlife? Like
So
in your opinion?
yeah,
I'll give you my opinion after, so but I want
yeah,
to hear what you say too.
so I was reading earlier, Wynn came out a few days ago about their guidelines, and they said that the nightclub and the day clubs are going to open specified on what the health district recommends.
Hmm.
And so I saw that on the casino floor, they want to obviously do physical distancing and they have to have sanitation requirements. But obviously, you can't do that in a nightclub or a day club. So it's really interesting. It's like, what do you have? One table open, every other table that's closed, but then that doesn't look good on the club, so it's not going to keep people in. And obviously, you can't distance people within the dance floor. So it's really tough to see. But I do think that they're going to have to lower prices because a lot of people are struggling. And I mean, obviously, in a situation like this where there's crisis, the people who have money tend to make more money, so they'll probably fill the tables. But the people who just want to come and are essentially balling on a budget, I like to say, they're the ones who fill through the guest list, and you're going to see that start to minimize a little bit. And if these DJs have huge contracts in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, if the club has to shut down tables or minimize the amount of guests coming in, then their contracts are going to have to come down. And if they're not willing to do that, they're going to have to go through lower talent or to a different genre.
True, true. For us, it's a very unique situation because in crashes, usually hospitality is the first one affected and the last one to recover, which is kind of a scary thing to look forward to in our city because this is kind of a very extreme case of what's going on. Um, and yeah, I agree that our nightclub scene, I think, is going to be affected for a little while. In that Win document, they break it into like departments of what's going to happen with restaurants, room service, casinos, maid service. And when you go to the nightclub section, it says uh, to be informed in the future once health officials announce more information. So it's like blank, like there's no set date. And then our governor just announced a 4-phase step process to continue to open up Las Vegas. Um, we're in phase 0 right now, is what he said, and we go to phase 3, and he has no set date until we complete steps and procedures and goals in each phase. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the nightclubs. But I do agree that also the DJs will have to take a lower pay cut, or we might go back to the old school days where it won't be about the DJs anymore. People will probably be excited just to go to a party. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah, I did notice too towards the winter, more specifically this last season at the nightclub that I work at, they would just have the resident DJ or just
Hmm.
like a very lower tier. And you still get people who come in and just spend as much money because they're just having fun. So it was starting to show me that people are specifically coming for either the nightclub specifically to have fun
Hmm.
or the staffing who they love so much. So people are going to have to do different ways to innovate, and maybe even rely more on the staff and the servers who are bringing in their own clients and the bussers and the bartenders and everything else. So
And going to like what you said about like social distancing and like about like the money that will be spent in nightclubs, I was thinking about that also, and I do feel that like people might be a little afraid to go to these uh, venues initially because until we have a vaccine, people will still be afraid of getting sick. It's just the fear that's going to kind of deter people from going to a lot of these places. And so what I do see is that a lot of these nightclubs will kind of, because these are mega clubs, they're going to kind of utilize their main rooms. So I could see, and this is an example of a scenario of what I might see might happen. So for example, like Omnia, they have their first floor, second floor, the terrace, and the hip hop room. I believe if things are slow, they're just going to utilize the main room for only, not the second floor, just the main room. Excess, I believe maybe the indoor area as well, and then marquee just the first 3 rows of their venue. So I just see kind of that might be the next step to kind of make the party still um, up to par of what we set up and make the experience good. Um, but yeah, like we had to strategize on how to make these parties great when the volume of people coming in had to be a lot smaller.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But if one thing Vegas is good for, we're really good at banding together and innovating. And you said that
Very true.
you were working in the industry in '09, so you were around for the '08 financial crisis, working on the strip.
I started right after.
Oh,
So right after that, I turned 21 in 2009 in June, and I noticed that there was it was starting to grow back. It was a big explosion in nightlife during that year. So that's when Surrender and Marquee blew up and opened up for the first time. So the mega clubs or the big clubs opened up for the first time around that time period.
Yeah, so I think there will be an explosion, at least from all the people that I see. Everyone is just so eager to get out, and
Everyone's itching. I see it.
everyone's hitching hard. And something that the electronic companies are doing, like Insomniac and some of these DJs, is they're doing a lot of live streams right now where they'll
Hmm.
DJ their sets to people. And like Insomniac's last show this weekend had over 1 million live viewers.
Oh my God.
So you can see that the antsiness and the volume is there, and people want to get out and people love their music, but it's going to be how is going to be the interesting implementation towards it. But
Tao Group has been doing that, and I've actually been very impressed what Tao Group is doing. So I'm really happy with what Win is doing, taking care of their employees, still paying them, and Tao Group as well. Unfortunately, there's a few other nightclub companies that are not doing the same, and so a lot of people are hurt and are in difficult situations. But what Tao Group is doing is that they're creating relief funds to take care of their staff, as well as do live streams as well with all their artists. So on all their Instagram websites, like the Marquee New York, Marquee Las Vegas, even their restaurants, Bodega Negra in New York, and other properties that they have, they're live streaming their DJs, as well as creating a fundraiser for their staff, which is really impressive. I really like. I just wanted to mention that with the live stream that you mentioned too.
yeah, it's people are becoming innovative, and like us. There's a tweet that I saw the other day, and it was saying that 2020 and during this pandemic is going to be the best opportunity that anyone has in rebranding themselves, because
True.
it's pretty much like a lull and dead period. And so I'm sure all these companies are really looking inwards and finding out who they really are, what they really are, and what they want to do. So it'll be an interesting future. But I do know that nightclubs and day clubs will be last, and especially if a second wave comes, then we might be
Delayed even more, which I hope is not the case.
yeah, delayed even more. I'm interested. When did you realize that the coronavirus was going to be a huge impact on Vegas?
Um, when Win announced their closure, I believe that was the 12th Thursday, and then when Tao Group announced their closure on Friday the 13th of March. I remember that because Friday the 13th is coincidence. So when that happened, it just kind of hit me, and I was like, wow, like this is very serious. And I was just kind of thinking of how the next steps will be taken. And later on, New York, Tao Group in New York announced their closure as well, not too around the same time. And when I saw the domino effect of even nightclubs in Miami, that's when I kind of started feeling that this is going to be a little bit longer than expected. Um, because just like how you said, like the close encounters of people on dance floors and just crowds around, we don't want to be liable of getting people sick and harming people. We want to show people a good time, not create fear or endanger people. And so that's something that a lot of these big nightclub companies are considering as well.
Yeah,
And I'm trying to look at the bigger picture of that too, is the safety for others.
100%. Yeah, it's a public health standpoint, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
Vegas always sets priority on security. You see through all the hotels, all the different security measures, whether it's cameras, extra staff. You have police officers inside of every nightclub, ambulances everywhere. It's the guests and the customers always come first.
Mm-hmm.
So
True, true.
it'll be interesting. But going back to your business, with VIP hosting, do you cover day clubs as well, right?
I do, yes. Mm-hmm.
And which one do you prefer, nightclubs or day clubs?
I like the day clubs because they serve food. I love the food, not gonna lie. I don't really ever drink. For me it's all business, so I'm always working. So the free food, I don't mind. I'll enjoy the free food. I'll take the food, no problem.
Yeah,
But no, the day clubs definitely give the nightclubs a run for their money. They do well, of course, hand in hand, but day clubs, I do feel that we have a unique and amazing experience that we offer with day clubs that not many other places around the world offer. And plus, our weather is amazing over the summer. So we have really great day club parties that I do feel is a major attraction, and I love them. I do feel there's more business for them as well too.
Yeah, even though I work in a nightclub, I've always been a day club person as well. I worked at a
Hmm.
party pool for 5 years, and that was one of the best times ever.
Which pool did you work at?
I worked at Planet Hollywood Pool for like 5 years.
Oh, no way. Oh, nice.
Started as a lifeguard, then supervisor, then I ended up being cabana host last year, and that's when I moved over to Omnia. But
Nice, nice.
the thing with the pool atmosphere is that, well, first it's longer. You know, a nightclub, it's pretty
Hmm.
much, it's open 6 hours, 6.5 hours, but no one really shows
Hmm.
up until 12, 11, 11:30, 12, and everyone leaves when DJ gets off at 3. So it's just like,
Yeah.
it's very fast paced and it's in dark lighting. So a lot of people are confused on what's going on, and it's late at night. So not everyone is there willingly, especially when they're on a trip and they've
Hmm.
been drinking during the day. A lot of the friends get dragged out, so people tend to be in grumpy moods at times. But
True.
at a day club, it's like a day-long event. It's open generally from like 11 to 7. It has food. The cabanas are away. You're not just in the middle of the action 24/7. And not to mention, you see beautiful people, half naked people everywhere. So
That's also a major plus. Yeah.
that's perfect for the eyes. So personally, I don't know if they're going to open up. The day clubs will open up this year, which I feel really bad for all of my fellow day club staffing, because auditions
Yeah.
are
Right when we opened, it happened. Unfortunately, that's very unfortunate for our colleagues for sure.
dude, yeah, and people train for months to get into day club shape, go through these auditions, and it's very
Hmm.
tough on and straining on you physically as well as mentally and emotionally,
Mentally
because you have
too.
5,000 people for 50 spots. So we'll see what happens in the future. But
True.
one thing I know is that we will innovate. And is there anything that you specifically or your company plans to do differently that you could think of?
Um, so I do want to offer more services in all aspects. Eventually, I would like to be more involved as a concierge company. So not only focus with nightclubs, I am helping out with hotel discounts as well, but I want to be more involved onto making the entire Vegas experience from when you land to when you leave. I want to be able to provide with multiple services and make an experience next level. So um, nightlife with promotion and hosting, with all these mega clubs, there's been an increase of hosts and promoters being hired for every venue. Back in the day, it was very exclusive. There was a very big a limited amount of promoters, a limited amount of hosts. Now there's so many, so you have to set a bar and set yourself apart from everybody else on what you can provide. And I want to become a more personal contact for these guests instead of be the image for the nightclub. I just want to be more of a what can I do for you here in Vegas, because some people don't want to just do nightclubs. Sometimes they want to just do it for one day in their weekend and do other things. So I want to kind of get involved with everything else as well.
Yeah, and
So that's my goal this year.
I've seen that you've also started taking steps towards that, correct? With
Hmm.
WhereIsNabu.com.
So my website offers hotel discounts, not only in Vegas, but pretty much any major city around the world. But I do focus mainly on Las Vegas stuff.
Can you just go a little bit deeper on what else is on the website?
So it's just it gives you a price of all the hotels, information on all the hotels on what cities you want to go to. Right now, it's mainly focused on hotels, but eventually, because of my travel blogging stuff, I'm going to include and implement that into that in the near future. And so I'll be going over with reviews on other places to visit, as well as my opinions and recommendations, and also with the connections of discounts on hotels. So right now it's mainly focused on hotel discounts, but soon we'll be including reviews, um, recommendations, and information on places to visit as well. Like for anyone that's trying to vacation to certain locations, I'll have information on those locations.
Yeah, so that sounds like is inspired by your traveling, and I know
Pretty much, yeah.
from your IG, from what I read before we had this conversation, you've been to 24 countries.
So far, yeah. And sadly, this year I'm gonna have a little halt because of what's going on. But next year I'll step it up a little bit more. So my goal is to visit 100 countries. So we'll see how soon I could get to that goal.
It's doable. You might have to take year-long pause because of all the international flight delays. And
True.
but when was your first out-of-country experience?
Well, I was very young. Both my parents are from Mexico, and I used to live in Mexico when I was very little, around like 1 to 2 years old. But I used to go to Mexico a lot throughout my when I was younger. But my first, I would say, real like experience of myself, like by myself traveling, would be Vietnam. About 3 years ago, that was the start of me wanting to travel, and so that was the first time I went out to meet up some friends, and uh, I started traveling alone after that a lot, and it was just kind of the start, and it inspired me to see more parts of the world. So.
Dude, that's something that I haven't been able to do yet, but I've always wanted to do, is do a solo international trip. I've heard
Mhm.
that it's just very freeing and you discover a lot about yourself, very introspective, as well as meeting people.
So I'll go into that a little bit as well. I absolutely love to travel alone. I also love to travel with friends, of course. I'm not trying to bash some of the friends that I traveled with, but there is a difficulty with traveling with friends. So the thing is that you guys all have to agree on activities. So if there's something that you want to do, but the rest of your friends don't want to do, it makes it difficult that you can't do that. You kind of have to agree with the crew on where you want to go, so you guys could travel together. Um, so when you travel alone, I love it because you go on your own free time. You do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, and it's on your own plan, on your own terms. And the other thing that's also very inspiring about traveling alone is that you will go into certain difficult situations, and you're forced to figure it out, and you kind of learn to figure and challenge you challenge yourself, and you figure those things out, and you realize how strong you are in these situations that you never thought you would be. So whether it's either language barriers, or flights are canceled and you're trapped in a layover for multiple hours or for a day, you figure things out to do. If there's no Uber, you have to figure out what other ways to travel around the city, and little things like that. Like you have to think quick, and that's one of the things I love to challenge myself at when I'm traveling and things come up. You have to be quick and figure it out. You can't just stand there. So that's one of the things I do love about it.
It's literally textbook World Explorer, just thinking
Yeah.
on your feet.
Yep. Yep.
I
Yep.
love that. What are some main differences you've noticed within all these different countries? I guess from the United States.
um. So every country's different, and honestly, like when people ask me like, "What's your favorite country?" I cannot say that. I have major amazing experiences with every different country. Um, and I would say a major difference would be just kind of just different cultures and beliefs, and seeing things in different ways, which I really love, because when you come back home and things are the same, you kind of learn different perspectives, and you could implement those different perspectives into your normal routine that you always have. So if you're doing something every day, the same thing every day, but you travel and you learn different things from different cultures, when you come back, you could see those same things that you do every day in a different way now. So it's kind of interesting, being inspired by other cultures and different views and different uh, um, just different ways. Just always kind of opens up your view on things as well.
Yeah, I think opening up your mind and your eyes and your vision is something that's very
Hmm.
important. Everyone's goals is to travel because, I think every country has this sort of media override that pictures their own specific country and a certain dynamic, whichever the media wants to portray it. So people are
Yeah,
very, very unaware of what's actually going on around the world. And so
that,
that's it. Go on.
that's one thing that's kind of I would say sad, that like if people kind of don't want to visit a place because they are afraid, or they hear stereotypes, or certain just kind of bad news. Sometimes people don't realize that a country is really large, and if they see something bad, it might be in one spot, one small part of the country, that does not reflect the rest of the country. And so always when people are considering travel, I just say keep an open mind. Definitely do a lot of research and just kind of look more and past the bad things. There are always good things in many places and amazing experiences that you can um, go through if you just do a little research and kind of study and learn things that you want to do. So
Yeah,
definitely something I would recommend.
got to open your eyes and your heart. What was
Do you
the
travel a little bit? Oh, sorry to interrupt. I was
you're
gonna
good.
say,
I've been
have
to
you,
so I've been to Mexico and I've been to
uh-huh.
Israel before for 10 days.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
so Israel is a very eye-opening experience. Obviously raised Jewish and a lot of Jewish
Hmm.
friends. But when I got to travel to Jerusalem, there was cultures from all over, and one of the most
Hmm.
dominated cultures that I saw was Asians and Africans there, and it was just like a very, very humbling
That
experience to see everyone on this like weird like psychic energy, and it didn't matter your
that's so cool.
differences. It was very cool. It's a very I'd say it's very scenic desert as well. There's waterfalls all over Israel. There's historic mountains that are referenced in biblical text. And then obviously once you get down to the Western Wall, and it's the Mecca for as well as a few other religious religions as well. And just to see everyone
Did
come
you
together.
have you had a chance to go to Tel Aviv?
I did. Dude, Tel Aviv, how I explained it was it's a combination of Vegas and New York is what it reminded me of. There's like, because there's
I hear it's a party city for sure.
Yeah, we did get to go to a club, and I was I think I was 19 at the time. No, I was 20 at the time. So it was before I got to come clubbing out in Vegas, and got to go out and club there. And I have to say, Israeli women are very tough to talk to. they're shooting us
They're
down left.
beautiful though.
They
They're
are
beautiful though.
they're
Oh
they're
my
be-
gosh.
they're beautiful. They're shooting us down left and right, pretending they didn't know English, and I was like, I know you guys speak English.
That's
So
funny.
yeah, so it was a really really cool experience, and I know Tel Aviv is one of the technical hubs over in the Middle East. As far as I know, they're developing even a vaccine for coronavirus now, and they have vaccines
Wow.
for cancer and all these different technologies that are going on. So
That's amazing.
yeah, it's a very humble experience. And also, I do want to note that when I was in Jerusalem, I was there for Shabbat, and for people that don't know, Shabbat is like the like sacred day in Judaism. It's from Friday sundown to Saturday at sundown, and everything is shut down. You could literally see hay just blowing through the streets, just like an old Western movie, like tumbleweed kind of thing. And I ended up getting sick when I was there, and I had strep throat. And since you can't travel when it's on Shabbat, so I had to. The only things open are hospitals. So I had to walk like 2 miles in the cold with a sore throat to the
Oh,
hospital. It's a terrible experience, and I was
that
like,
sounds
God,
horrible.
I was like, I'm gonna die out here. But
Oh my
I
gosh.
ended up getting better, and it was a really good time. But I also do want to travel a lot. Um, what is what was the most eye-opening country for you that you didn't have really, I guess, low expectations for, and it just blew you away?
Um, I would have to say Cuba was one that blew my mind for sure.
Really?
The reason why is that people there, like, it's a communist country. People are not allowed to leave. They're kind of opening up things a little bit more now, uh, but they closed it back down recently. But because they don't have too many TV channels, they only have like two or three channels, and it's all news. Um, they don't have internet, and it's very controlled if you do have access to it. So people are forced, instead of like the entertainment that we have, we'll have like radios, TV channels, like internet, all of the social media stuff like that we are informed with. They stay away from that, and they are forced to socialize. And their social, I don't know how to describe it, like their social skills are just so unique and welcoming, and they just love to socialize with people. They're very welcoming, and the way that they talk to you, it's very unique because they're so friendly. And even like usually when some random person comes up to you and they're nice to you, you kind of expect that they want something from you. They're not like that in Cuba. And the art there is so incredible. Everybody's an artist in some form: dancer, singer, painter, sculptor. performer of some sort. Like everyone is an artist, and there's art everywhere. And so if you're a big fan of art, Cuba is full of it, and that was something that I really loved. Plus, the of course the 1950s throwback of the cars and the buildings, and um, the Spanish influence in buildings as well. It's incredible. I really loved it, and a lot of people are afraid to go to Cuba, and I completely understand. But if you do it a proper way, and if you do the research on how to travel to Cuba, it was definitely an amazing country that I visited for sure. That I would have to say that definitely opened up my eyes.
I can imagine without the distraction from technology that people have
Mm-hmm.
to express themselves in some sort of way, and art is probably the primary go-to for that. And I'm sure
Oh yeah,
the murals, the paintings, even probably the food is probably incredible too.
so good actually. I was very surprised. And one thing that I like, okay, going back to like how the people are so nice. So, um, before I went to Cuba, I was also in Peru, and in Cusco, there's a very big problem with stray dogs. So there's dogs everywhere, and they keep on breeding because they don't spay them. There's so many of them all around, and so it was a big problem. Like you have to be careful with the wild dogs there around the city. So in Cuba, there's a bunch of stray dogs, but all the stray dogs have name tags, and they're walking around the city. And I remember I was like walking around, and there was like a stray dog with a name tag, and like a restaurant owner came out and got some leftover food and put it down in the street for the stray dog, and the dog ate it and just kept on going. Like it was like the happiest stray dog I've ever seen in my life that they're taking care of. So it was very unique. Like I was like, what the hell's on his neck? And it was like a badge number. But like it was like, you know, like those badges that like you have for like conventions. It was a badge on this dog. And then I kept seeing them all over, and I was like, what the hell? Like it was very interesting. So that's kind of, I was like, wow, these people love to like take care of everything around their island. It's incredible.
So I've always wanted to go to Cuba. When I was in college, I had so many different spring breaks. I tried to convince my fraternity and friends to go take a spring break trip down to Cuba instead. No one wanted to do it, but that's going to be one of my goals down there to get
Yeah,
down
it's I recommend it. If you need any help, I'll gladly
there.
after the show I'll give you
You'll,
some tour companies for that. So.
you'll be my go-to. Do you have any travel tips for anyone, and also any, I guess, travel tips for Vegas as well?
All right. So for Vegas, for anywhere, always do your research. I would say if you are going for nightclubs, always try to find someone that could be your go-to guy to help you out. Like nowadays, well, not now, but like um, before the quarantine, you would I would recommend to find a reliable nightlife individual and just tell them straight up, this is what I want to do. And they would gladly help you out. And usually they'll recommend at least one night with their venue. And it's how they make their money if you support them. And if you support them, they'll gladly support you with the rest of your events for the rest of the week as well too. If you're going for shows, for any shows and reservations, I would always recommend to do them online to always avoid the street hustlers that are trying to sell you show tickets or nightclub passes, because usually for nightclubs, it's money's collected at the venue if you're buying entry, or it's a free entry with the guest list. And then for shows, it's usually dealt with the venue or the hotel. So just be careful with shady hustlers on the strip, and just do your research of what you want to do. Because I do notice a lot of people come to Vegas and they're like, okay, we're here. What do we do now? Like, and they just kind of wander around. And so, even for traveling around the world, always do your research. What I usually use for any travels is I just go to YouTube and I watch multiple YouTube videos of what's to do in this city or what's to do in this country, and I just watch multiple videos and I just write down little things that, oh, I think that's cool. I want to check that out. Oh, I want to do that. And then I do my organization and planning of what I'm going to do each day throughout my visits. So with Las Vegas, I would recommend that as well. Just watch a couple YouTube videos of what to do, what you want to do. See if you want to do nightclubs, look up what DJs you like and see where they're performing and if they're there that week or weekend. And yeah, just organization, just doing your homework, just study what you want to do and plan it out. This takes 15-20 minutes pretty much.
Literally, it's funny you say that. My last guest was, we were talking about how YouTube literally has anything. It's like YouTube
Yeah,
University, and how
pretty much.
it's actually the number 2 search engine online outside of Google. YouTube is like number 2. So, and
I wouldn't
people
be
got to take
surprised.
advantage.
Yeah. I love watching YouTube for my travel trips. I just like I have like there's a list of like travel influencers that I like to follow and like see what they've done. But then I just like look up other people that traveled and then other locals. Always look up the opinions of locals. So that's always a great way to do some research. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I think your IGs would be a pretty good use for research as well. You got a
Soon, hopefully soon. So,
a lot
trying to
of
work on that.
scenic stuff on there. I love it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So before we go, I have some I call them Nabu-inspired exit questions. They're just 5. There's some short ones. The first is, the year is 2030. What do you see the landscape of Las Vegas looking like?
I feel that we're gonna be a very well-rounded city. Not only like how we have things right now, but like close to like how LA is, and many developments. So I believe we're gonna have many established sport teams. I believe sports is gonna be our next wave in Vegas. Once this virus is over and once sports get back to normal, I do believe that we're going to have professional sports teams in every sport here in Las Vegas. I do feel that that's going to bring a huge wave of people to live here. And so with that happening, there'll be more opportunities for more people to work in hotels and more hotels being developed. And then that will create more tourism as well. So I do feel a major spike, especially in 2030, and our city growing. So we're very lucky with not much traffic and stuff like that, but soon I believe we'll be getting into that problem, and then we'll develop into like not subways, but other forms of transportation around the city that will be economical and efficient for the city to grow as well. So little things like that, I do feel will be major in 2030.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. 100% agree. I think adding sports teams to a city is like the way to cement your legacy as a full community into a city, and not just like a one-track city where Vegas was basically grounded and they went off like the gambling, and then it was off to sports betting, and then the next wave was like family, where they had those weird like theme parks and went wild and stuff, then transitioned into the nightclub wave, and the next wave, you are correct, is going to be the sports wave. And
I hope that also there could be a tech growth as well in the city. I know that there's a push for that right now. So I'm not very familiar with that industry, but I hope that with what's going on now, that could help grow the city in another way besides, the hospitality industry that we have.
100%. Once traveling is okay again, what are your next 3 destination plans?
So I have Taiwan planned for a wedding. It's planned for the end of this year, but hopefully nothing will. It'll still be okay by then. I have 2 crazy travel plans. Every year I do a really crazy travel experience. This year, I wanted to, or when we open up, I want to do El Camino de Santiago, and that's the 500-mile hike in Spain across the northern part of Spain, and it's about 30 days to do. And so one of these winters when I'm not working in nightlife, winter's my slow season. That's when I usually do all my traveling. I want to do that walk across Spain. So
I hope you bring friends on that one.
Yeah, that's gonna be a solo trip most likely.
Better send some smoke screens just to make sure you're okay.
And then another crazy trip. You guys are gonna all make fun of me about this. So this one is called Do Castaway, and it's the movie, like just like the movie Castaway. They throw you on an island and you have to survive on your own. And so,
dude, the ultimate experience.
Yeah, so I want to do a 3-week isolation trip to an island, and this company is called Do Castaway. They have islands in Indonesia where they will throw you on, and they'll give you a certain amount of supplies onto what you request. And for this trip, I'm gonna have a hatchet, a harpoon gun for hunting fish, and maybe a 5-gallon jug of water. And I debated about this, a tent also, because I don't want to cut trees through a 3-week trip. If it was longer, maybe, but for 3 weeks, I'm not going to cut down a tree to build a shelter. So I'll just get a tent.
We're gonna,
So, yeah, that's it.
you're gonna have to change your IG name to Nabu Grills after that.
Those are I have a few others, but those are my 3 trips that I have lined up for sure that I want to do soon. So
Dude, you're just getting more extreme up there. I love it.
try to, man. You try to live life, you know.
So when I see you at the club, you're always smiling and having a good time. But I gotta know, why do all the hosts make it seem like they're getting you into Narnia when you want to be put on the guest list or get a table? What is up with that?
So what do you mean, like
you know, like when you hit up a host, they keep you, leave you on red, reply an hour later, or it's kind of the one word replies. It's kind of like the cool guy vibe. Like, what is up with this facade?
So there could be this is not like I don't want to say like a statement for every host that does this, but there could be a few reasons why. So a lot of these hosts work day club and nightclub. So maybe the reason why they delay is because they're resting in between. That does happen. I have a very strict schedule, and I try to squeeze an hour or 2 nap in between a day club and nightclub because those are very long days, especially when day clubs open up at 11 a.m. But you have to be up at like 8 or 9 to make sure all your reservations are set, and then nightclubs close at 4, and then you have to submit all your stuff for the pool parties right after that. So like you have a very hectic schedule on the weekends. Especially if a host has a massive volume of people hitting them up, or even a promoter that has a lot of people. Sometimes quick responses are just to confirm. We like when you have 100 people contacting you for one night. You don't want to go too in depth of, oh, how was your? Well, you do. You want to get personal. You want to create a connection, but you don't want to be like, what did Stacy do last night? Oh, what did Chris drink last night? Like you don't want to go into too details into them. You want to just make sure you confirm them and make sure they're set up. Cut the extra stuff. It's business sometimes, and so that's what I assume some of them are going through. Is just kind of hey, I know you're going through a crazy weekend right now. Here's what we got set up. But if they're kind of just like, yeah, you're good. Yeah, I feel that's really rude. That shouldn't be done. Here in Vegas, we set the bar for hospitality, so we have to kind of put ourselves up at that level as well, and not be disrespectful. Understand that they're on vacation, and be positive about what they're going through. As long as they're not disrespectful, you shouldn't be disrespectful. So that's
the host life is literally 24/7, always on call.
You don't stop. Yep. People from around the world in different time zones contact you, so you have to kind of always be quick. But when someone in London is hitting you up and it's 3 a.m. here, there might be a delay in the response, and so there's just reasons that there might be a delay. That's what I would see. Yeah,
it makes sense. Do you ever see any marijuana businesses making it onto the strip, as far as maybe marijuana lounge or allowing smoking?
Yes, but not anytime soon until it is legal across the board, the entire country. I can definitely see lounges and even the clubs implementing some sort of marijuana involved. And the reason why I don't see that until then is because I believe the hotels on the strip follow federal laws. And so that's why you can't smoke weed in the casinos, even though it's legal in Nevada. But that's one thing I do see that happening on the strip. And if not on the strip, I do see a mini Amsterdam type of street, which I believe maybe industrial, where all the strip clubs are. I can see that becoming an Amsterdam like strip clubs and lounges of like marijuana lounges all together meshed in one street area parallel to the strip.
Yeah, Vegas has got to have a little bit of something for everybody. So all in time, I do think once it's federally legal, it'll come in. I know some people talk about how weed usually like makes you droopy and tired, so people won't spend as much, but therefore they'll probably just increase the price on a J or whatever the case is to make sure
True.
that it equates out. And one last question. What does Las Vegas mean to you?
To me, it means the world to me. It's my home. People come here thinking it's adult Disneyland, and yes, it is, but there's a huge community of growth here. My family lives here. I've made so many best friends that live out here. I have friends like you that we all make a living out here. And even though, yes, it might seem like a party, we all are just like everybody else making a living and trying to grow and make ourselves established in life out here. So we just because we have a different lifestyle than everybody else, or our city's a little bit different than everyone else, doesn't mean that it's like we're not different. We all just want to make it in life, and this city, this is going to grow so much more, and I want to be part of that as well. And I know you do too. You want to put a good figure out for everyone, and not just think that we're just all party animals and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Our real job is your vacation, and but we take pride in that, and we set the bar, as you've been saying. And seriously, I thank you for doing this. You're the first industry person on this podcast. Certainly won't be the last.
Appreciate that.
But,
thank you,
I'm
Jake.
glad that you could set the bar for everyone and give people explanation on the differences, and especially the travel tips as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on the show, and great to be part of this.
Heck yeah. Whenever water polo opens up and you guys can invite some people, do like a newbie. I want to give it a shot at least once.
Hey, no problem, man. Come join. I'll definitely vouch for you. Come play with me. So
I'll be terrible, but I'm in. Yeah.
It's all good. No worries. I'll coach you before.
Cool. And for all the listeners, how can they get a hold of you or involved with your business?
Best way, just reach out to me or follow me on social media. Instagram or Twitter are both the same name of WhereIsNabu all together. So if you have any questions or want to reach out to me, definitely best way to reach out to me through that those two platforms.
Yeah, I highly advise all of you guys who are visiting or need any sort of help on the Strip to hit up Nabu. And before we go, I just want to make sure that everybody subscribes, likes, comments, all that jazz within the social media platforms.
Yeah, subscribe, guys.
all day. That's the only way that we push this platform, to highlight all of the different bright personalities in Las Vegas. I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in again. This is episode 4 of the Guest List podcast. This is Jake tuning out. Thank you, Nabu.
Thank you.